Here we go. So the other day I was faced with the challenge of having a sidebar navigation for a PWA example. And I figure, and many people have done that before, that you could use the Bootstrap model and then allow that model to show up from the right or from the left. Now, instead of just solving that particular problem, I decided to create a small footprint CSS library that would allow me to do some manipulations of the way the modal window shows in the screen and also the animation. So for instance, a couple of things that you can do is to show it at the bottom as if you were having an app additional menu. You can do the same thing from the top, or you can do it in set. For instance, you can just have the model showing here. Now, there are a couple of other things that I noticed that you could do. You could actually have the animation of the Bootstrap model not coming from the top, but you can actually have it coming from the center. So if you notice, basically the animation zooms in, oops, and you can do that. Now you can also do zoom out. It's actually pretty neat. And the example that I was looking for was the sidebar navigation. So in here I have it from the right, from the left, and I can have it from the right. So another use case that I find useful is to have some kind of a full screen, and you can have it with different directions for the animation. For example, coming from the top, coming from the bottom, or you can do a coming from the center. So, and I think that this is actually covering many of the use cases that we may have when we're trying to do manipulation of model. I personally like the idea of having the from center as a default rather than having the Bootstrap default behavior. And obviously this will center, let me do it again. This will adjust the center as you, this will center the model as you resize the window. So it should actually work very well in a mobile application. Let's do that quick test. So if I go to the Explorer or to the Inspector, in this case, I can show this as, I don't know, iPhone 10. Let's refresh to make sure that it covers that. And here are the animations that we were showing earlier. Now I'm not doing major modification of the design, so that's something to be done in the specific application, but mainly focusing on the representation of the model, the animation, and definitely the side or the edge from which the model will show up or will appear. And it was fine. So let's do a quick example to see how this could be implemented, and I can exit this. So I have here the builder, and I will create a new project. That will be test sidebar. No additional information here. So I have a default model, a default block here. Now what I would like to do is to bring something from Bootstrap, the default model. So let's take this one, for instance. You have the model, standard Bootstrap syntax. So what I will do here in this block is just to replace my widget. So this will be I have my widget. I don't need any of this code. And if I save this, nothing should show up. And the reason is because the model by default is hidden. So I have to do a couple of things, right? So the first one is to go to the source code of the page and include the library. So this is the library. I can just copy this code and just add it under the last CSS file that I have here. So this will bring the main library, and all the code that I need to do the transformation should be accessible from simple classes that I can add to the model element. So I'm going to save that. Still not much is happening. So let's see how it works. I need to add, for this example, according to this, if I was to do, let's say, the left side navigation. So the animation, of course, that's part of the Bootstrap framework. AMK, which stands for Acropolis Mobile Kit. Then I want it to come from the left, so that's going to be the left side navigation, navigating from the left, and I want to add a little bit of delay. So the delay basically allows me to click, see the background, and then I will see the window. I can show it with and without so you can see the difference. So I'm just going to take this for now, and I'm going to put that in my model. So model, the animation, we're going to overwrite this fade. AMK, the right. I want this to be left, sorry. So we'll have it in the left side. And I will call this left sidebar. The content doesn't really matter, but I will leave it that way. So if I go here, still I shouldn't see anything because this will work only if I'm in the preview mode. Now I need something to show that model. So just to give you an idea, I could do, for instance, if I want to trigger that using JavaScript, I could use the inspector to say, okay, so jQuery, find me a model, and there is only one in this page, right? And I can say model show. So the model is there, the sizing is correct, and the behavior is actually as expected. Now we don't have ways to do two things. The first one is to show that in the builder. So if I want to continue designing the model, I should be able to see that without having to preview that outside of the builder. And obviously the second one is a way to just preview that when I'm just opening without the builder. So let's take care of the first one. And to do that, the only thing that you should do is add an additional CSS class here for show in builder. Now that will show the model, right? But notice that the height is not registered because the position of the model is not pushing the container at all. So one thing that we can do is to use a helper class for CSS in builder, and that's only available for the builder. So once you publish your project, that class will not be there. And I want to affect the block, which is my main container for this example. So block, I want it to be a min height of, let's say, 500 px. If I do that, now I have a container with a height. Now this height, as I mentioned, wouldn't affect the preview. If I go and do a preview again, still I don't see my class. And yes, of course, I can add a button to call this action or use the syntax to link a button with the model. But what I would like to do, and this is just an example, is to add some JavaScript that will automatically trigger that action without me having to type anything in the console or anything like that. Now, this is only advice if you are just working on the model and you're not working on a page that is supposed to be live. But the way to do this, or one of the ways, to basically just put some JavaScript, and I have it here. So basically I'm trying to figure out if the model is in the builder, and that will be basically calling an attribute that is present in the page only if you're in the builder. And if that attribute is there, then the value of this flag in builder is true. If not, it's actually false. So in your page, in your preview, that should be false, which basically means that I can evaluate that and say, well, if it is false, then find me a model that is inside this block, and I can safely do that because I know that there is only one model. If there were more than one, I should probably take a different approach. Then if that block exists, if there is something found that is more than 0, then show that model. So just to recap, basically we figured out if we're inside the builder, and if we're not inside the builder, then find me a model, and if you find it, show it. So with that in mind, then I think that this should be it. So I have now my model inside the builder, and if I preview, I have the model showing up. And this is good because I'm just testing. So if I was, for instance, going to change the code, I can add any changes here. Something change, right? I can simply see that in the builder, or I can preview that in the actual page. And the rest of the examples are pretty much the same. Basically, just change the type of the position of the model, and then the direction from where you want the animation to come from. And this class that I mentioned earlier, the delay, allows you to put some delay between the background fading and then the window showing up, or the model showing up. So let me see if I can demo that. So here, if I go here, notice that everything will happen at the same time, right? Both the animation of the model and the animation of the background will happen at the same time, unless I put this class, delay 200, and 200 stands for 200 milliseconds. So if I save that, I can preview now and notice that the animation of the background happened first. This is interesting because what I notice is that depending on how busy your screen is or how many elements you have, what you will find out is that that animation runs slower because you have a lot of screen going on. You're literally painting the entire window, and if you have a large resolution, then that will be resource consuming. So I figure that you can have a more smoother behavior if you just animate the background first and then allow the window to show up last. And I think that should be it.